All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the August 15th, 2023 Kentucky Department of Education Superintendent's Webcast. The Commissioner, Dr. Glass, will be joining us in a moment. And so I'm going to get started with go over the agenda with each of you and see if he hops on. And if he does, then he'll take it away from there. If not, I'll do some of the updates that we have to share with you from the Department of Education, and we'll let him hop on there. So I'm going to go ahead and start and share my screen. All right, so as you can see, we have a very full agenda today. We will start with some updates from the Department of Education. We have Kentucky Board of Education Chair Sharon Porter Robinson here to share with you some updates from the Board of Education meeting. We have Portrait of a Learner, the guidance document that we released a couple of weeks ago. David Cook and Sarah Snipes are here for that. Dr. Foster is going to talk about the safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services plan. We have some updates from our Office of Education Licensure and Effectiveness with Dr. Darnell. We have an update on the Kentucky United We Learn Council with our Chief Performance Officer, Karen Dodd. We have some updates on Esser funding with Robin Kinney. And then we'll talk about cohort 2 of letters, which is open right now, along with some equity playbook and literacy initiatives updates from Dr. Woods Tucker. And then we'll talk about work-based learning requirements for accountability purposes. And that's with 2 of our folks from our CTE office. And then also some academic standards for health and physical education. And then we also have joining us today some of our friends from the Kentucky Cabinet for Health and Family Services to talk about Medicaid for schools. So I'll go ahead and get started unless I don't think I've seen him come in yet. Has anybody seen the commissioner come in yet? I don't think he is. He's still working on getting in. So we'll start with some updates. Really exciting news to start our week yesterday is that we have now narrowed down our list of finalists for 2024 Kentucky Teacher of the Year. You can see that on the list on this slide here. We have semifinalists for Elementary Teacher of the Year, include Katie Hale from Ponderosa Elementary and Boyd, Deanna Landrum from Southgate Public School and Southgate Independent, Justin Mareshi from Klondike Lane Elementary in Jefferson County, and Donnie Wilkerson from Jamestown Elementary in Russell. Middle school semifinalists are Kevin Daly from Ballyshannon in Boone County, Doug Henry from Bullitt Lick in Bullitt County, Kimberly Thompson from Eastside Middle in Bullitt County, and then we have 3 semifinalists from 2 from Jefferson County. We have Ryan Davis from Wagner High School and Kumar Rashad from Breckenridge Metro, and then also Luke Glazer from Hazard High, Hazard Independent. So these finalists will be joined with others that have been recognized as 2024 Teacher Achievement winners, and just want to extend an invitation to everyone to join us at the Capitol on September 13th at 10:30 a.m. We will be announcing who our overall winner is and the cash award winners. Wanted to share with you some information from our transportation cabinet. They are sponsoring a Paint the Plow event to promote safe winter driving. This is a newer event that they are trying to promote within each of its regions. It's an opportunity for your students to paint one of the transportation snowplow blades to promote safe driving habits for the community during inclement weather. There's invitations by region. They are doing this by particular regions, and we have shared a link on our Kentucky Teacher, and we also sent out a press release on that. If you need any more information on that, feel free to contact me and I'll put you in touch with the transportation department. Some good news in that we have named our new director of state schools. Shannon Sparkman took over the role on August 1st. She is overseeing the operations and management of the Kentucky School for the Blind and the Kentucky School for the Deaf. She will also work with our stakeholders to improve student outcomes for all of our students at the state schools. She joined us in July of 22 as an IDEA General Supervision and Support Consultant, and we're certainly excited for Shannon to join our team in this capacity, as KSD had its first day back last week and KSB went back this week. And so lots of excitement in both of those buildings. Our applications are now open for the 2024 U.S. Senate Youth Program. We receive usually a lot of interest in this program from our school districts and our superintendents. So this is the time to let somebody that is a junior or senior, current junior or senior, know that this is the opportunity to apply for this program. As you know, this is a very prestigious program, and they will receive a $10,000 college scholarship, along with a trip to Washington, D.C., where they will work with politicians and other policyholders during a week of in Washington. The application deadline is October 2nd, so be sure to get with your students. Please share this information with your guidance, your school counselors, and school staff, because this is always something that we get asked about a lot. Want to talk about the first electric school bus that was delivered to Wolfe County last week. You'll see on the slide, it doesn't look much different than your regular average school bus, but it is in fact electric. And so they had the first delivery on August 7th. This is part of an effort funded by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Clean School Bus Program. In all, we have 60 electric buses that are on order for 10 Kentucky school districts this year. Each selected district will receive different buses based on their need, and certainly an exciting time. I believe one of our counties is getting somewhere like one or about 2 dozen buses. So I know there was a lot of excitement in Wolfe County, and they had a press event, and they're definitely very excited to have these in their district. We are seeking public comment on a request related to federal funding. This went out last week. Information on how you can provide feedback to us on this waiver, which will be submitted to the U.S. Department of Education, can be found via the link on Kentucky Teacher. We had a over the summer, if you will remember, we did not have a webcast in July. So this is kind of something that we did over the summer that we wanted to share with you. We had more than 2,000 career and technical education leaders from Kentucky school districts, post-secondary institutions, gather in Louisville for the Kentucky Association for Career and Technical Education summer program. You will see, if you go through the pictures on our website, we had lots of participation, lots of faces from your districts, and just a great event all around. And then I also wanted to welcome all of our new superintendents. This is, I know, probably your first webcast with us with the Department of Education since you've taken over your roles on July 1. KDE is, as it has done in the past, is running superintendent profiles on all of our new superintendents. Here are some of the ones on the screen that we've already done. We just put up our new one today on the new superintendent in Rowan County. So you can feel free to check those out on the features tab of Kentucky Teacher. We are also sharing district Esser stories. We've been doing this throughout the summer, and I just wanted to give a shout out to all of the superintendents. Several of you heard about this opportunity from previous webcasts, and I just want to say thank you for letting us know about the amazing things that you're doing with Esser funds, and to feel free to keep sending those over to me, and we can work on getting something shared out via the media or via Kentucky Teacher. We often have members of the media calling and looking for story ideas, and I usually keep them by area so that if it's somebody in your particular area and it's a great story to share, I'm happy to do that. I believe that our next one that we're working on involves Letcher County, so real excited to have these stories and to be able to tell them for you. And I will toss over to, well, actually, I think Dr. Glass has joined us. Dr. Glass, did you make it on?
I am. Thanks so much for covering for me, Tony. I apologize, everyone, for my tardiness. You can all rest assured that every update that Microsoft has put out is installed on my computer now. I appreciate your patience. Thanks for the update, Tony. I'll just briefly say that this is a very exciting time for schools in Kentucky here at the beginning of the school year. As a superintendent, this was one of my favorite times of the year. It's one of the few times that you can get the entire staff together if your district is a size where you can you can do that, and it's just great to see everybody, and it feels like a family. So it was always one of my favorite times of the year to do that. It's also a time, I know many of you are getting ready to start school, or you have already started school, to sort of see the excitement in the students' faces and to reconnect with them, and to see the families coming in, excited to get their kids to school, and the support that comes around the schools in your community. So we are excited at KDE for this season as well. I know that you've been struggling with a lot of balls in the air, trying to juggle staffing concerns, filling last-minute positions. We have chronic shortages around hourly staff and bus drivers that you've been trying to contend with, and working through that as well. And we have some challenging new laws that you're working to implement this for this fall as well. So all of those, we don't diminish any of those challenges that you have, but at the same time, it is a really positive and exciting time of year, and we're excited to be part of that with you. As always, myself and everyone else at KDE, we stand ready to support you with anything you need, so feel free to reach out if we can be of service in any way. And now we'd love to turn things over to our brand new chair of the State Board of Education. We want to congratulate Sharon Porter Robinson on her election to that role. Sharon, or Chair Robinson, I should say, is no stranger to education and no stranger to Kentucky. She is a Kentuckian, but also has an extensive and incredible background working in education policy and a number of levels. Most recently focused on teacher preparation and improving that at the national level. So Chair Robinson, we'll turn things over to you for an update from the Kentucky Board of Education.
Great. Thank you so much, Jason. And thank you all for joining us for the first Superintendent's Webcast of this school year. It is certainly an honor to serve as chair of the board, but believe me, it has been a real honor to serve on this board with an incredibly impressive set of board members, and working with our really impressive staff at KDE. But it's the thing that encourages me most and is most satisfying. It's another opportunity to serve you, the superintendents at the local level, helping you do the job, get it done on the ground with our kids. And we want to be in support of your efforts in every way. Let me give you a quick update on actions that we took during our most recent board meeting at Dale Hollow State Park in August. We did approve regulatory changes regarding district lease agreements, the pupil attendance calculation, the use of local monies, and we approved a biennial budget request. Let me just say that the interest and the insight afforded us working with you at the local level informed all of these decisions. And if you have questions, particular interest regarding any of these actions, I'd love to entertain those, but I just want to kind of get the summary out there. And Meredith is here to help with that as well. So let's go to the next slide. We did elect new leadership for the board. Lou Young, who has served remarkably and in an exemplary manner as our chair, is now going to work with me as vice chair. The board approved 2 new standing committees. One, the State Schools Committee, including the Kentucky School for the Blind, the Kentucky School for the Deaf, our ITCs, and the CTEs as well. We wanted a committee that focused on the interest of these entities, these organizations, so that we could be better informed regarding their needs, challenges, and opportunities. And we established the standing committee to get that done. Our second new standing committee is called United We Learn Teaching and Learning Standing Committee. This committee is going to be chaired by Holly Bloodworth. This committee will continue to stay close to all the initiatives focused on improved student learning, Kentucky United We Learn, the L3 districts, the Portrait of a Learner, so that the board can be more informed, better informed in a constant way on supporting these initiatives. We, during our meeting, we provided a real opportunity to weigh in on these initiatives through a focus session regarding Portrait of a Learner and the implementation. Here, let me just remind you that we want to be reciprocal partners between local districts and the states to honor and support your efforts to enhance student learning and to improve learning, enrich the learning opportunities provided to our students, and support your innovation, particularly as it relates to capturing accountability and achievement data relative to these opportunities. We want to make sure that we are supporting the emerging questions from the from Portrait of a Learner and United We Learn efforts, particularly as it relates to capturing student achievement and getting those data defined and recognized as data that inform your actions at the local level and can also inform the overall accountability to our students and local communities. We had the great good pleasure of recognizing the Henderson Assisted Technology Team, HAT, with the Grissom Award this year. The Grissom Award, it recognizes innovation in special education, and this team serves the whole district, all the schools in the district, to identify opportunities to improve the student learning experience by making sure students have what they need. In particular, this team was recognized for providing assisted technology for some of the students with hearing issues so that they could be more involved in their learning experience, more confident that we were engaging with them, and their work was so very impressive, and it was an honor to recognize this team from Henderson Public Schools. We welcome 2 new board members. The board is now fully manned, if you will. Diana Woods from the Fayette County is an at-large member, and Julie Powell is also an at-large member. They came to the board meeting, their very first one, really ready to weigh in, and we were thrilled to have them join us. Our next meeting is October 10 and 11 in Frankfurt. Please watch for the announcements about that and look forward to your engaging with us personally and virtually, and please stay in touch.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair Robinson. We appreciate that update. I think we have David Cook and Sarah Snipes on next to talk a little bit about our Portrait of a Learner guidance document. Take it away, guys.
Thank you so much, Tony. It's good to be with you all today. We are very excited with the release of this guidance document. I think a lot of our conversation in the early parts of all of this with Portrait of a Learner, Portrait of a Graduate has been around the thing we call a Portrait of a Graduate or a Portrait of a Learner. But there's a lot of questions about how do you do that and what is it that we're trying to accomplish? And we can talk about the document itself that you may or may not have already developed, but how you get there and why you get there are the most important things. Next slide, please. So this guidance document that has been released and it's available on the website is an attempt to help each individual district who is interested in creating a Portrait of a Learner with the steps that need to be taken to do that. We all know that in every one of our communities, every one of your communities, simply getting kids numeracy and literacy skills is not going to get them through what world they're going to be entering. So the portrait of a learner is designed to look to allow each community to figure out what it is they think is important for their students and to build something that allows them to both introduce that to their students, but also report on it and look at it from a community perspective. Next slide, please. What is the portrait of a learner? It's pretty simply the knowledge, skills, and mindsets or dispositions that we think students need to be successful post-secondary. So we always talk about knowledge as part of the things we want kids to know, but we know that we're a skills-based world and that content is going to change probably almost daily as these students enter the workforce and enter life. And they need learning skills and life skills, and they need the dispositions necessary to be successful and to be adaptable in the world in which they're moving into. So think of the portrait of a learner as that set of competencies, and a competency being the combination of these three things: knowledge, skills, and dispositions, that are important for that student. And as we've gone about this across the country for years, the bottom line is it's pretty much come to pass in almost all the research that these competencies are pretty much the same in every place. There may be more things that an individual community wants to look on and look at for their students, but at the foundational level, these six competencies that make up the portrait of a learner in Kentucky are the ones that we've seen almost uniformly across all states, all districts, the whole nation. Next slide, please. I'm going to switch it over to Sarah now, and she's going to talk to you about the actual document. She led the effort to get this document completed, and I'm going to let her share about the document itself as each of you think about the portrait of a learner. Sarah?
Thanks, David. So we truly hope that in giving you this guidance document, which really has been a collaborative effort that I'll talk a little bit more about here in a moment, we really believe that the target audience for this particular set of guidance is pretty broad. We find that even community members and families that are interested in learning more about this portrait of a learner that everyone seems to be talking about lately, they would hopefully find great benefit in looking at this guidance document as well. Recently, as we have more and more conversations locally, we're also hearing of a greater interest from school board members at your local level as well, who want to know more about the local portrait efforts in communities, and have certainly asked us on the local school board members advisory council for more information in this guidance as well. So we hope that you'll take this guidance to your local school board members as well, to at least have a conversation about what this might mean in your communities. But it's certainly you as district superintendents and administrators, as well as your school principals, teachers, will find great benefit, we believe, in those performance outcomes that help us start to think about the ways that we measure competencies in the classroom, and community co-leaders who may go along with you in this journey to create a local portrait would certainly find benefit in this resource as well. We can go on to the next slide, Tony. So essentially, our goals with this guidance document is to support you in your local district, but more so your whole community to develop and implement a local portrait. So whether you are in a phase where you're simply considering developing a portrait and don't know how to get started, or if you've been on this journey for some time now and may have a locally established portrait, but are moving into those deeper phases of implementation, of taking it into practice beyond the poster, we certainly hope that this fits your needs as well. So one of the big drivers for this particular body of guidance was from hearing the local needs coming from your districts in our implementation survey that has been actually since early summer or so out there. And so folks who have responded, about 78% indicated that there was a need for guidance supporting the measurement of local portraits. And so this is our direct response to that request and need out in your communities. You'll also notice in this document descriptions of those model competencies that the Kentucky Board of Education adopted in November. We've also established a process for helping you develop a set of local competencies. And you'll also see that there is a process for developing and implementing those performance outcomes. So taking it to that step of measurement within the classroom and students. Model performance outcomes and indicators for the competencies that were adopted by KBE are living in this document. And certainly we hope that, again, opens the conversation for teachers within your district as well to see where alignment exists with your local portraits and how that might serve as a model of creating your own. And of course, we hope to provide some considerations for how to take this into deeper into the realm of assessment and accountability and thinking about the implications for your portrait of a learner competencies. Next slide, Tony. And we couldn't let this guidance be posted without a huge thank you to so many of you and your educators. The model portrait of a learner that was adopted by the Kentucky Board of Education in November of 2022 was co-created from the very beginning with the addition of our 6th creative contributor competency. So back in 2018, actually, district leaders from our Kentucky Innovative Learning Network who had existing local portraits at the time came together under the Kentucky Competency Education and Assessment Consortium. And so there you really see the roots and the anchor behind what now exists as the Kentucky adopted model competencies. And then in our current guidance document, when you see the performance outcomes and indicators across grade bands, we just want to thank the several teachers from Innovative Learning Network districts and our innovative teacher cohort who came together from districts across the state in those selected grade bands to really lend their expertise and experience to help us create the performance outcomes that you see there based on their very real experience and knowledge of student development over those grade bands. So thank you to those folks who have helped really make this co-created and collaborative effort. And we're not done learning from you. We really truly see this in partnership with your local communities. As I mentioned, we have 2 surveys floating out, actually, an implementation survey, but also a status survey, just to see, do you have a finalized set of competencies? Are you developing one? Are you considering developing a set of local competencies or not considering at this time? And on the left-hand side of our screen, you can see our current numbers as of earlier this month. But we're still looking to hear from 62 districts who we currently have an unknown status for in terms of developing a local portrait of a learner. So on the right-hand side of your screen, and there's a link that will be in the slide deck as well, is a QR code where you can simply scan. It takes about 60 seconds in total to write your district name, the and at what status you would self-report as your community having developed a local portrait. And so we encourage you to participate in this if possible. It really helps inform our next steps, and we want to be in tune with your local learnings to guide us along the way. And we'll just make sure that you have the link to this guidance document, which you can see up at the top through our KDE webpage in the Division of Innovation subpages there as well. Also want to highlight some additional resources and supports that have been created. It seems that we're adding more and more of these supports each day. In collaboration with the Communications Division at KDE, we've also released a Portrait of a Learner FAQ document, which answers many of those lingering questions around why do we create a local portrait for Kentucky and what are those implications for a state portrait at the local level. We also have a wonderful video created by the communications team that you can see there as well, and would link directly to the YouTube account from KDE that features Chair Robinson as well as Vice Chair Young and even our Kentucky Teacher of the Year for 2023, Mandy Perez. So just a wonderful video to showcase, and a shout out to Superintendent of Bullitt County, Dr. Bacon, who's also featured there as well. And we'll go on to the next slide, Tony. I think it's just a wrap up for us. Of course, we're always more than happy to field your questions, work with you in partnership in this effort as you think about a portrait of a learner in your local communities. And if there's anything that we can do to support these efforts, we are more than happy to collaborate with you.
Hey, thank you so much, David and Sarah, and just appreciate the work that you guys are doing. I just wanted to put it out there too that we've had a couple districts reach out about possibly using our graphic and kind of making it their own, and that is absolutely on the table. So just reach out to us, let us know how we can help, and we're happy to do so, provide any support that you need. Thank you, guys. All right, up next is Dr. Foster, and there she is.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have a few topics that I want to touch base with you quickly this afternoon. I hope everybody is off to a smooth start to the beginning of the school year. The first topic that I'd like to cover is a safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services plan. So this plan is something that you already have posted on your website, but this is just a reminder that ARP Esther still requires you to have this plan posted on your website and to review it and revise it every 6 months and make those changes in GMAP. So we've had a few calls coming in. Do I have to have this posted? Do I have to look at it again this year? Yes. So many of you have called this your Senate Bill 1 plan, your ARP Esther plan, or your COVID-19 plan. So make sure that is updated and resubmitted in GMAP and also posted on your website. Next slide, please. Also want to remind you guys about the upcoming Continuous Improvement Summit. It will be held September 25th and 26th at the Lexington Central Bank Center downtown next to Rupp Arena. Mike Rutherford will be our keynote this year. David and Sarah will be there doing a session about the portrait and also have a table set up with resources. Rhonda Sims and her team will also be there to talk about assessment and accountability and the release of data. So there is a link in your slide deck to actually register for the summit, as well as the agenda for all the different sessions that will be offered. We'll also be recognizing best practices from across the state. So I hope to see you on September 25th. And my final slide deals with a Distinguished Schools program. That has also been published in the Monday Message the last couple of weeks, and so the call is out for the National ESEA Distinguished Schools Program. There are 3 categories: an exceptional student performance and academic growth for 2 or more consecutive years, closing the achievement gap between student groups for 2 or more consecutive years, or the final category, excellence in serving special populations of students, for example, homeless, migrant, English learners. So please check this out. It's in the Monday Message. There's also a link in the slide, and the deadline is August 25th. And so the national conference this year is in February in Portland, Oregon, and we definitely would like to have some Kentucky schools in attendance and being recognized. So please get in your nominations by the deadline of August 25th. Thank you, guys.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Appreciate that. Dr. Darnell, are you available?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Take it away.
All right, outstanding. Good afternoon, everyone. I know this is always straight from the fire hose with all the information, but just a few quick updates to make note of, if you would advance to the next slide. By now, from House Bill 319, you should have received information on the exit survey to be administered to individuals that voluntarily leave a position within your district. And of course, ideally shared with the point person that you have seeing that through. And what we are doing as we get information collected from the survey, we are working to provide a statewide aggregate sort of view of the information that comes in, nondescript, of course, but an overview is statewide. And then in order to just manage the data and get information back to you, we will disaggregate the data by district and send that information back to you in December and in June. So this just allows to dig in and then separate that out, but then send that back to you at 2 points within the school year. So that will be December and June to receive your district feedback from any received forms from the exit survey. Next slide, please. Also, just as a note, we've been tasked with just providing an overview of all of the alternate routes that are currently available to individuals, and we will be providing a report to the Interim Joint Committee, as it states, by October 1st. So we don't have the date for that, but we will certainly be able to give points of reference in terms of the use of the alternate routes. And also just to make note that the alternate routes, most of them, mind you, were also in a KTIP world as we continue to navigate post-KTIP. Next slide. Then it's just of note that also from House Bill 319, they approved an interim certificate. And so eligible candidates, they can apply for a 1-year certificate, renewable of a maximum of 2 years. They must have a bachelor's degree or higher and at least 4 years of work experience in the area in which certification is being sought. Most importantly, this is not available for the area of special education, and those holding an interim certificate must be assigned a mentor teacher. EPSB approved an amendment to the ordinary and emergency regulation at the July 21st meeting that will remove the requirement of an offer of employment before issuance of the certificate, so individuals can contact EPSB directly regarding the interim certificate. Next slide. Also coming to you shortly will be, not that your inbox needs anything else in it, and I know that they're often filled with surveys, but we are required by Senate Bill 1 from 2017 to collect information on teacher and leader effectiveness. This is also known as the Kentucky Equitable Access to Effective Teachers Survey. So this will be coming to the superintendents and, of course, then filtered to the principals. This is going to be very short, if you will, so not time consuming. And most current past sitting principals will have seen this last year. We have just updated it for this year. I believe there was a blurb about this in the Monday message, but to my knowledge, I believe it contains the prior year survey. So please look for the one that will be coming to you with the correct link in your inbox.
That's correct. Hey, I just wanted to pipe in. We'll send that over to you guys via email this afternoon after the webcast.
Thank you, Tony. And of course, then that is to your principals and will only be unfamiliar to those that are brand new to the principal chair. Also of note, the 2024 Impact Kentucky Working Conditions Survey will be coming around the corner on November 1st. And so we have yet again, another survey registration form that will be due by September 22nd that will identify school survey coordinators, ideally in parentheses there, teacher leaders that will help to administer the working conditions survey. And then if you were unable to catch it live, which I'm sure most of you had plenty of other work to tend to, there was a certification webcast, just an overview that we conducted, and it is available on the KET media portal under educator licensure and effectiveness. And so that is just something for your reference should you want to search for that and check anything or double check anything. And then also of note, the EPSB approved teaching candidates' ability to remain a classified employee of the district while student teaching during its July 21st special meeting. So again, that's an individual that may be in a classified role within a district, but is completing a preparation program. They can maintain classified employment with the district and student teach as a result of that decision during the 21st special call meeting. Next slide, please. Also of note, just please note that any new administrator that has not previously been through the certified evaluation training is required to do so. I've just provided the P3 options, both virtual options as well as in-person options. Of course, some of these have passed or will be coming shortly, but just please make note if you have any new administrators that they must attend an initial certified evaluation training through one of these routes. And so I just wanted to make sure that you have the dates for those as well. And next slide, please. And then just want to make note of the Go Teach KY Ambassador application that opened today, and it will be open through September 30th. You can visit goteachky.com for more information, but certainly we've had a wonderful representation across the state and would love to continue that. And certainly I'm very honored to work with those that are chosen to be Go Teach KY ambassadors, and just want to put a plug out there for anyone in your districts and the many I'm sure that might be a good fit to apply and take a leadership role at the state level. And Tony, I think that may be my last slide. Yes, it is.
It is. Thank you. And we have Karen Dodd with us now to provide us an update on the Kentucky United We Learn Council. Karen.
Thank you, Tony. All right, good afternoon, everyone. I have a brief update for you. Primarily what I want to do, Tony, if we'll go to the next slide. This council was kicked off last November, and we were challenged by then Kentucky Board of Education Chair Lou Young to come up with a moonshot for education in Kentucky. So if you could choose what education would look like 10 years from now, 5 years from now, what would that be? I've put together a little form. Tony will get that out to all of you. But if you could just take a moment and just put a line in there about what your moonshot would be. What would you like education to look like in the future? Next slide, Tony. So our council is made up of about 72 members. It is a bit fluid, as you can imagine. When you have that many people, things come up, people change jobs and need to drop off. We started with about 75 members, and after almost a year, we've only lost a few, so that's actually really good news. The chair of our council is Audrey Gilbert. She's a former student and now has gone on to college, but she is still the chair of this council. We also just elected a co-chair or vice chair, and that is Penny Christian. The standing committees, we have 3 of them that make up the council: vibrant learning experiences for students, accelerating innovation, especially as it pertains to accountability, and building a bold new future with communities. Those standing committees meet on a monthly basis. So they have a lot of work that they do in between the convenings, and our convenings are twice a year. So with our kickoff being last November, we met again in April, and we will meet again this November. Next slide, Tony. Here I had that we were selecting a new vice chair, but we were able to do that after I had already put these slides together. We're currently surveying our council members because we're coming up on that 1-year mark. We're really interested first to see if they're ready to commit for another year of service to the council. We definitely want some continuity. We understand that some people are going to have to drop off, and fresh blood is always a good thing. So as people drop off, we're going to be looking at things like, do we still have a good representation when it comes to geographical location? Or do we have members from every corner of the state? What about racial equity? What about men versus women? So we look at all kinds of things to see if we have a really good diverse council makeup. So we'll be looking at that once we figure out who is going to recommit and who is dropping off. And if our mix is off in any way, then we will do some recruiting to add more members back onto the council. That survey will also ask members, nope, still on the other slide. We'll also ask members what has gone well and what do we need to improve. So far, we've had this survey out for about 3 weeks now, and I can share that mostly it's been very positive feedback that we have received. The one area of improvement that we're hearing is just meeting times. And as you can imagine, again, with that many people, it's really difficult to find a time for everybody to meet, even within the committees, because there are at least 20 people in each one of those committees. So after working a full day, it's hard for folks to get on in the evening, but it seems to be the best option right now. But they're going to continue to look at other times for meeting just to make sure that everyone can be as involved as they want to be. As I mentioned, we're preparing for the November convening. That'll be on the 2nd and 3rd here in Frankfurt. And we're really hoping to nail down that moonshot. So over the past year, what the members have been very focused on is really learning. What does a vibrant learning experience look like? How do we work with communities and understand what they're looking for in education? And when I say communities, that includes families, it includes other educators. And then what policies or practices are going to need to change in order to support what it is that we ultimately want to create. Next slide, Tony. We're also drafting a couple of processes. First, we have a process that just walks through at a very high level how the council itself works in conjunction with KDE partners and the Board of Education. We are then creating a lower level process that helps each one of the committees understand how they get from a learning agenda to making a recommendation to KDE and the Board of Education. And I've already talked about possibly selecting new members. If you would like to go, you were right, Tony, go on. If you would like to stay in touch with what's going on with the council, you can subscribe to our newsletter. Just send an email to Susan Strange. Her email is there on the screen. And we also have a web page, and it's easy to get to right from the home page. You'll see United We Learn up in the right corner. Click on that, and from there you can get to the council's page. And every one of our standing committees also has their own web page. You can get to all of the agendas, all of the minutes, and even video of every one of the meetings that are occurring. So everything is very transparent, and you're welcome to look at any of that at any time. And I think, is that all for me, Tony?
I just sent out this. And I just sent out that link to the superintendents to fill that out on the moonshot. And so if you have an opportunity to do that, please do so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Robin, Robin is here to, hold on, let me get to my slides here, to provide us with some updates on Esser. Take it away, Robin.
Thank you very much, Tony. It's a pleasure to be with you all, and best wishes to you as you start welcoming students back into your classrooms. I do want to thank the district staff that have helped us over the summer and been really diligent in completing data requests on our annual performance reports for COVID relief funding and any of our data corrections or checks that we've asked for. Much appreciation to your hardworking staff over the summer as well. Esser 2, we're going to talk about just for a minute. Esser 2, of course, it seems like we just talked about completing Esser 1 expenditures, and now we are on the heels of Esser 2. The grant period does end September 30th of 2023, so it's right around the corner, and all reimbursement requests are due to us no later than November 17th, 2023. We do have some data for you through June of 2023, so it's a little dated by now. Partly because we do stop those reimbursement requests for a little bit as we close out the state year, just like you all do in your districts. So as of the end of June, 87% of the district allocations have been reimbursed. So a pat on the back to all of our districts that are using those funds very expeditiously. I wouldn't be surprised if we are well over the 90% mark at this point in time with just a little bit of time left to go. Also wanted to share that districts have been reimbursed about 75% for Esser to LEA state set-aside funds. Remember, those are funds that districts could opt into receiving at that time, and that was focused on direct student services being delivered, and that was also at a time that we were trying to get back to in-person instruction. So again, really good job. 75% of those state set-aside funds have been utilized. If you don't plan to use all your ESSER 2 funds, please notify Robin Morley at the web email address on your screen as soon as possible. So the goal, of course, is always to utilize all of our funds for eligible expenditures for both our students and your districts. But if you're not, and you have spending plans that support that, but if you plan not to use all your ESSER 2 funds, if you can let us know as soon as possible. Next slide, please. Also, we've talked, I think, at prior superintendent webcasts, and we've also been in close contact with your finance officers about any needed liquidation extension requests. If you'll remember, this is only for ESSER 2 at this time, and we've had a few districts, as shown on the screen, that have filed sort of notices of intention that they may need a liquidation extension. This would provide them for up to an additional 14 months if it is granted by the U.S. Department of Education. Our requests are limited to construction, renovation, and bus obligations. Those obligations must have occurred under our Kentucky application by July 31st of 2023. So we encourage you, again, if you think you are one of those districts and you're not on our list right now, we need to hear from you now. Kentucky can only do one application upon all of our districts at the same time. And we have asked the districts we're already in communication with to complete information to us by August 31st. Next slide, please. As we look forward, ARP Esther, of course, we're still in that grant period. We have about 16 more months. All requests are due to KDE by November 15th, 2024. By now, you kind of know the drill. Through June 2023, we have reimbursed districts for about 50% of those allocations. So we feel like you are right on the timeline as far as your diligence and expenditures. As a reminder, you must spend 20% of your ARP Esther allocation on learning loss assistance. So make sure that you are keeping an eye on that 20% going to learning loss. ARP Esther liquidation extension requests have not been announced by the U.S. Department of Education. We are trying to be cautiously optimistic about that, but it is likely we won't learn of that until spring of 2024. So we continue to advocate that we need to know that earlier. It would certainly help our districts in planning as they move forward, but that request has not been announced, and so it is not yet available. Just as a reminder, those ESSER funds, all ESSER funds and expenditures are emergency funds that are intended to be utilized in a timely manner to carry out the activities to prevent, prepare, or respond to COVID-19, including its impact on students. Thank you again for all that you're doing for your districts and the good use of ESSER funds for COVID relief. Next slide. If you have any questions, of course, you can always reach out to me, Robin Kinney, or Robin Morley for assistance about any questions you have across ESSER or questions specific to your district. Thanks so much, Tony, and I'll turn it back to you.
All right, thank you, Robin. Our next item on the agenda is an update on where we are with our Kentucky Reading Academies. We are in cohort 2, and so we have Mickey Ray and Christy Biggerstaff from our Office of Teaching and Learning.
Thank you so much, Tony. Good afternoon, superintendents. We are very happy to be with you today. And as Dr. Glass stated, the start of school is always an exciting time, but I know you are super busy as well. So we will be hopefully good stewards in this portion of the presentation today. I do want to introduce to you again, Christy Biggerstaff. She serves as our Director of Early Literacy, and I'm so thankful that she is a part of the Office of Teaching and Learning team. I know many of you have already reached out to her with your questions around early literacy and the ongoing state level initiatives. And so she's going to just walk you through some of the most pressing items as they relate to the 23-24 academic year. So Christy, I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Mickey. Just a reminder to start us off that the cohort 2, phase 2 of letters registration is still open. So you can join the learning. During the first cohort, we had around 1,800 educators to join us. We currently have 2,300 signed up for phase 2. So if you would like to join us, I encourage you to do so. That registration will close on August the 31st. And we will open that again for phase 3, cohort 3 next school year. But come and join us. We have 2 courses, a letters for educators and a letters for administrators. And I want to just quickly on the next slide talk about some of the great things that we have learned from our first cohort. We gave them a survey, and just as a reminder, this survey was given to them only 2 units into the learning in cohort 1. And the survey respondents, we had 433 of them. 95% of them said that what they are learning in letters is new and relevant information to them. 93% of them said that it's helping them to better meet the diverse learning needs of their students. We had multiple written testimonies, a lot of classroom assessment data shared, just student progress stories. So a lot of wonderful results happening from the learning in letters. So if you would like more information about that, we have all of that information plus the links to sign up for phase 2, cohort 2 on the Kentucky Reading Academies page at KDE. Next slide. And as Mickey stated, I wanted to just quickly talk about, since this is the first year for implementation of the Read to Succeed Act, I wanted to quickly and briefly go over some of the most pressing items that you have probably been talking about as superintendents with your school leaders and district admin. But the first, of course, is the piece about approved universal screeners and diagnostic assessments, and those are to be given within the first few days of the school year, 45 days for kindergarten and 30 for grades 1 through 3. We have created a list of approved early literacy screening and diagnostics. Those can be found on our webpage as well. And the next part of that is the reading improvement plan. So if a student is deemed to be at risk on the universal screener, they are given a diagnostic assessment, and then they must be given a reading improvement plan. And that will help them hopefully to meet the progress. They can create that plan and then be intervened with and make progress to proficiency. So we have developed a reading improvement plan template that you can use in your districts. You do not have to use that template, but we wanted to create a guide for you to help you as districts implement this new reading improvement plan. And then we are also working with Infinite Campus to get that reading improvement plan placed in Infinite Campus if any of you are interested in that. And hopefully that will happen in the next couple of weeks, and we will make sure that you're aware that it is there in Infinite Campus. Next slide. The next piece that I want to talk about is the Read at Home plan, and that is also part of the reading improvement plan. And we have created a Read at Home plan family guide. Again, we wanted to give you all the resources that we could so you could implement the Read to Succeed Act and not have to reinvent the wheel within your districts. That is been released and is on our website. And that is just easy activities that our parents can do to implement quick, reading activities that can improve their reading at home. So that is all located on the website. And we also have a Read at Home plan guidance that we developed with the Kentucky Collaborative for Families and Schools. And that is an administrator-facing guidance document to help build those partnerships with communities and parents. Then we also have a reading and writing instructional resource consumer guide. So we want to help point you to high quality instructional resources, and that reading and writing instructional consumer guide leads you as a district through picking high quality instructional resources that will help you with Tier 1 instruction within your district. Next slide. And I want to tell you and point to you that we have a lot of additional resources on our website. We have a brand new early literacy webpage. It has the implementation guidance document. It has early literacy resources. That is where the reading improvement plan template is. That's where the Read at Home guide is. We also have a brand new site that is that talks about all things about structured literacy. So it's got a lot of great information on there. That was just launched recently. So go check it out for all the information and resources around early literacy. Again, next slide. I'm here. Please reach out to me if I can answer or help you and your districts in any way with Senate Bill 9, the Reach to Succeed Act implementation. I hope you can join us for phase 2 of letters, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you so much for all that you do for students in Kentucky.
All right, thank you, Christy. Next up, we have kind of continuing our talk about literacy and equity. We have Dr. Woods Tucker, our Deputy Commissioner in Office of Teaching and Learning, to share a couple of updates.
Thank you, Tony, and a big thanks to Mickey and Christy for your discussion on the Read to Succeed Act and our early literacy initiatives here in the great Commonwealth. But certainly a big, happy good afternoon to our superintendents. And hopefully everyone is off to an uneventful as possible school year. I know this is an exciting time, spending 14 years as a superintendent. I know it's very exciting and a challenging time, but I certainly don't miss it. And congratulations to you. You are certainly our heroes and sheroes. I'm going to first talk about our equity playbook and some of our literacy initiatives. And I don't have a PowerPoint, so I'm going to give you a break on the slides here for a few minutes. A little bit about the equity playbook. Can you believe we are in year 3? Cohort 3 is now open. If your district is interested in being part of Cohort 3, please you can contact me or contact our Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, Dr. Damian Sweeney. Over the course of almost 3 years, we've had over 1,400 total coaching contacts. Those of you who follow Dr. John Hattie's work, when you look at effect size, positive influences on educational outcomes, we know that coaching, real-time, real-life coaching has a high effect size, I think 0.88 if I'm not mistaken. Or near about. So over 1,400 coaching sessions, and some of those coaching types were over 37 separate conversations with superintendents and other school district leaders, 56 classroom visits, 42 workshops and trainings, 28 Q&A sessions, 79 debriefs and administrative meetings, and 1,167 coaching conversations around one of those 5 problems of practices that are unique to our school districts. In fact, we have a strong presence in over 60 schools across the Commonwealth. Again, if you are interested in this powerful work and ensuring that we reach and meet the needs of all of our students, we do encourage you to consider round 3. And now I'm going to go ahead and shift over to a little conversation about literacy. Yeah, Tony, I do apologize. I was going to show at this point one of our videos for the Kentucky Equity Playbook. So if you have a link to that, or we've updated it so it's accessible to all, we want to make sure we do put a link in for the Kentucky Equity Playbook. So now on to literacy. As Christy said, the Letters Academy, Reading Academy, will be closing on August 31st. We have over 2,000 registrants so far. We will certainly welcome many other registrants if possible. And when I think about my time, 14 years, as I said, as a superintendent, I asked myself, what is the most important work we can do? Obviously, helping our young people become good citizens, but also helping our students become literate, to work on literacy and numeracy. I have the pleasure of sitting on the National Governing Board, the National Governing Board for NAEP, which is, as you all know, is the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which is also commonly referred to as the nation's report card. And part of my work on the steering committee of the National Governing Board of NAEP is to look at some statistics. So if you will allow me to indulge in about 2 minutes, these are some things that I continue to think about and really keep me up at night as part of my job in the Office of Teaching and Learning. And I also believe some of these things will be helpful to you all as well, because we constantly hear from community members and lawmakers about, well, what's going on with literacy. Over the past 2 decades, there's been generally a positive trend in literacy rates, but we all know what happened. These rates were deteriorated significantly the past 3 years with the pandemic, and we are still, folks, we're still dealing with the pandemic. We're just not in an emergency situation right now. These are some couple things that I've learned from my work with NAEP, again, on the steering committee. There has been a significant decline in reading skills during the last 3 years, again, due to the pandemic, with only about 10 to 30% of students in our schools reading at grade level. And that's across this country. It's not Kentucky, it's not the Southeast region, it's across the United States. 54% of Americans between the ages of 16 and about only about 74% of those 16-year-olds can read or reading below that of 6th grade. So again, 54% of Americans between the ages of 16, are reading below that of 6th graders. So that is a clarion call. That is something that we definitely need to look into. And 1 in 4 children in the United States grows up without learning how to read. And in the United States, only 35% of our students are proficient in grade 4. We really believe the literacy initiatives that we're taking here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, we're looking at the science of reading through letters. We really believe it's going to change the trajectory of this, and we can only do this, superintendents, with your help and the support of our teachers and our community members. Tony, I'll leave it at that, and I'll be sure to give our folks a link to the Equity Playbook dashboard, and if anyone wants any of the statistics that we look at through NAEP, I'll be sure to get those to our superintendents as well.
All right, thank you, Dr. Woods Tucker. Our next item on the agenda is some cooperative education and internships for STAIN accountability. We have with us Holly Tracy and Reagan Setterwaith from our Office of CTE.
Thank you, Tony. Happy start to a brand new school year from the Office of Career and Technical Education. We hope that it is a wonderful school year for each of you in your districts. And please remember that us in the Office of Career and Technical Education are always here to help you as you implement high quality CTE in your districts. Holly and I are here to talk to you today about some new guidance and resources that we have available as it relates to our new work-based learning indicator for career readiness in Kentucky's accountability system. This change to career readiness results from Senate Bill 59 of the 2022 session and Senate Bill 25 of the 2023 session. Those bills have now been codified into statute for a new career readiness indicator around work-based learning. Our new career readiness indicator is that students will be career ready if they successfully completing a Kentucky Board of Education approved cooperative or internship that is aligned with a credential or associate degree and which provides a minimum of 300 hours of on-the-job work experience. And so if you'll go to the next slide, Tony, we'll break that down a little. So what this means, a KBE approved internship, is that the KBE has given a blanket approval. They did this at their February 2023 meeting for any student who has passed an internship or co-op course. So this is associated with a course code and who directly works with an employer partner for 300 or more hours of on-the-job work experience. All co-ops and internships that are of this nature should adhere to the Kentucky Work-Based Learning Manual. We do have a new manual that was published in March, and to the requirements of the Work-Based Learning Regulation 705 KAR 4041. If you go to the CTE website on the KDE webpage, you will find the manual. You will find a link to resources and documents that help you implement high quality co-ops and internships. and other resources available from the Office of Career and Technical Education. And so what does this mean? If you'll go to the next slide, Tony, please. For those that are outside of a course code. If a student has a work experience that is not associated with a course code, but that the school has been involved in, there is now a process for the school to apply to earn accountability for that school-sanctioned individual work experience. Those experiences do have to be individually approved by the Kentucky Board of Education. And so that application is now available on our website. That application asks the school to demonstrate direct involvement in the preparation and technical skill attainment that the student has received prior to and throughout the student's work experience. So on the application, that's going to look like listing courses that apply to the student's part-time job or summer job. It's going to also ask for a verification that the student has completed those 300 hours. So there is a link to upload timesheets. It's going to ask for an employer evaluation, and then signatures from the employer, the principal, the student, and the parent or guardian are also going to be asked for along with the application. There is now a SharePoint site that schools will submit their application to the Kentucky Board of Education. We are really happy with the way that this SharePoint site allows schools to have notification that their application has been submitted. And then a second notification will come after the Kentucky Board of Education has made a decision on whether to approve or deny that request from the district. So if we'll go on to the next slide, I know we've rushed through this kind of quickly, but we do want to let you know that more detailed information is available on our website. We have a fact sheet for co-ops and internships for state accountability. Within this fact sheet, we have a link to the application for non-course code work-based learning experiences. We have a link to the submission site on SharePoint. We have multiple questions that we've received from schools and districts, as this is a new indicator for career readiness. And we also have a link to guidance on how to import data for those that have already been approved for accountability in the way that they are courses. And so I'm going to turn it over to Holly. She's going to go through a little bit of what you need to know about importing that data.
Thank you, Reagan. Tony, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm going to be short and sweet. I am going to be talking about some resources that are going to be valuable to the districts on work-based learning data entry. So there is a career readiness work-based learning data standard on the CASIS KDE data standards website. This is going to give you step-by-step instructions on how to enter these records. There is also an article in Infinite Campus called Career Readiness, and that is going to be found in Infinite Campus Community. There is also a third resource for the Career Readiness Report that is in Infinite Campus. You can see the article linked there, and that is also in Campus Community. So this is going to give you a validation report and a career readiness report. And you are going to be able to validate your students through using this. I also want to mention that career readiness records are currently in the student records transfer process. So those will import as a PDF. And then I think that's the newest thing that's come about with the career readiness records.
Yeah, and if I can jump back in, I did realize I told everyone about the FAQ, but I failed to mention how to get to the FAQ. That part's important. So you get to our FAQ for co-ops and internships for accountability by going to the KDE website and then select career and technical education and then select accountability and CTE. All right, and that'll do it, Tony.
All right, thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. Next up is our update on our health and physical education academic standards, and back with Mickey Ray and also Crystal Rowan from our Office of Teaching and Learning.
Thank you so much, Tony. So superintendents, as you know, the KDE must facilitate the process of standards review, and that is in statute in KRS 158.6453. And I'm joined today again by Crystal Rowland. As Tony mentioned, she serves as the director of the Division of Program Standards, and the academic core branch oversees not only the standards review process, but the implementation supports and the professional learning as a result of those new standards. So she's going to just go over 2 opportunities that may impact your teams and community stakeholders around the review of health education and physical education standards, which are next on the docket. So Crystal, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mickey. As Mickey said, our Kentucky Academic Standards for Health Education and Physical Education are coming up for review. And so we wanted to give you a heads up that the public comment survey will be opening on August the 28th. And that survey is really looking for feedback from all stakeholders, teachers, administrators, community members, businesses, and families. And so we just want you to be looking for that and take the opportunity to share that with people within your community that might be interested in taking the survey. And I believe on the next slide, we can go forward 2 more slides there. There we go. Also critical. That's okay. Also critical to the standards review process are our standards writers. And so we will have an application opening on August the 28th for teachers to apply to be on the standards writing committee. And so we want you to be looking for that. Please share with health and physical education teachers, instructional leads, building administrators, so that they can share that out as well, because we rely on those standards writers to really be the voice of the classroom and of that content area and expertise. And so we want to make sure that we have plenty of applicants so that we can create committees that are diverse and also represent the regions across Kentucky. So again, both of those will be coming out to you August 28th. You should see it in the press release that will go out, as well as the Commissioner's Monday message in our standards newsletter.
All right. Thank you so much, Crystal. There's contact information from her on that slide there. Now I'm going to check in and see if we have our friends from the Cabinet for Health and Family Services on. Helen, are you there?
Hi, Tony. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. You can go ahead and take it away, and I've got your slides.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you all for having me today. We appreciate the time to come and talk with you all and just share some ongoings. My name's Helen Dawson, and I am with the Altarum Institute. We're a nonprofit organization that's supporting states through, long-term care and anything that may be tied to that, sort of what we're doing. But we've been working with the Kentucky Cabinet for Health and Family Services for over a year now to plan for and then operationalize and implement the unwinding of the public health emergency. So as you all know and may have heard, this is happening now. We wanted to give you sort of a context of what's going on in Kentucky at a glance. So this is to really show just the immense volume of members that we're working with here and now, and then specifically that second piece about how many children are impacted by this. Over half of the children in Kentucky are connected to Medicaid and K-CHIP. So this is a large volume of people, and we're doing our best to make sure that we're able to contact everybody and make this as smooth as possible. So if we move to the next slide, I'm just going to give like a very brief overview of the public health emergency. You all know what we've been going through the last few years. I know you all have had your unique experiences with it and unique challenges. But one of the things that happened when the PHE flexibilities ended and the Consolidated Appropriations Act was put into place was that continuous coverage. So the fact that we were continuing coverage for anybody on Medicaid without a renewal ended March 31st, 2023. So while some other flexibilities ended that were about sort of how services could be provided and some were permanently implemented in Kentucky. The big thing we want to talk to you about today is what's going on with the fact that we have resumed Medicaid renewals. You may have heard about this in the news. All states are having to do it. The timeline is for Kentucky is roughly, for all states is roughly 14 months. If we move on to the next slide, talking about what that means. In the next 14 months, that 1.7 million members that we flagged on the first slide as being on Medicaid, they're all going to have to go through a renewal for their eligibility. We're returning back to pre-pandemic eligibility requirements across the state. So those, so nothing changed policy-wise. We're going back to non-emergency practices. So there's a lot of support from the federal government here and guidelines that the cabinet is making sure to stay in line with. Our main goal overall is to prevent any terminations that are unnecessary. So this being administrative terminations or procedural terminations because we just never heard from the members, or terminations from members that are ineligible or as ineligible that are actually eligible. And so we are focused on preventing any terminations and avoiding any gaps in coverage. There's going to be an instance where there are members that are now ineligible for Medicaid, but we're going to be working diligently to connect them to other coverage so that there is no gap in ability to receive healthcare services and have that insurance cover those costs. But so why am I here talking to you today? I think that's a main thing too. Federally and in Kentucky, one of our main priorities is continuous coverage for children across Kentucky. There are specific requirements for children based on their status of eligibility, their age, et cetera, that extend their coverage for an additional 12 months and apply unique eligibility requirements to children. For example, the federal poverty level limit for Medicaid and K-CHIP eligibility for children is higher than that of individual parents, et cetera. So we wanted to just let you know that this is happening, a brief intro of it, and kind of a call to action for you all is to kind of help us. If we move to the next slide, you might recognize this flyer that we sent out in an email blast pretty recently and have tried to get it at some events for back to school so far. But we're really leaning on you as another, microphone into the public to help parents understand that this is happening, to share resources that we have available online and can create if you determine there's a gap in a resource need that we can help with. Make sure that families know about their children's Medicaid and ensuring they know that even if a parent may think they're going to be ineligible, the children are still eligible most likely. And so they still need to respond for children. And then to connect families to supports in the community that are trained and skilled at being able to help them through this process. So what is this process? Members are going to be receiving notices from Medicaid regarding their renewal. Renewals happen over the course of the next, I think we still have about 8 more months of renewals that's going to be happening. So they'll be happening over the course of the following, we've started 4 months ago, we have another 8 months to go. So they'll be happening on a rolling basis, and members, when it's their time for renewal, will receive a notice from DMS that either notifies them that they have eligibility continued, that we need a little bit more information for them, so respond to a RFI, request for information, as you probably know, or if we need them to submit a renewal packet to us for more detailed information. So if they receive this notice, here's on the next slide, there's a couple opportunities for members to respond. So how can they do it? They need to complete and return the forms, but they can do that a variety of ways. They can fill it all in and fax it. Although I don't know if I would be able to find a fax in my 10-block radius here. So there's also opportunity to return it by mail. They can log into the self-service portal and review their benefits and upload any documentation to respond to the renewal notice they can do in the self portal or the request for information. And then we have connectors across the state and DCBS field staff, or the Department for Community-Based Services field staff, open via call lines every single day except for Sunday. And there's offices that members can go into and help them and get help in responding to these notices. So if we move on, I want to just flag that this is really emblematic of our full approach to this unwinding, is how much we're leaning on partners across the states. We are working with community advocacy organizations. The managed care plans are working with us to connect to members. We're doing direct outreach. We're tracking information for all members. We're coordinating internally. We've created reports to make this as easy as possible on providers and members. And then we've got a bunch of agents and connectors available to help sort of navigate through this for members. But I would add to this is one of those things that we're trying to do is really focus on communication and getting our messaging out there. So getting out there to at this point, really focusing on parents to know that if they need help, there's support in the community for them. But these renewals are happening and we need to hear from them. Specifically, need to hear from them to ensure that their child remains covered and cared for. So if members need help, I'm going to take you to the next slide. There's a couple places that we would love to have you sort of direct them to. So as you can see in the chat, Beth, the communications lead for the cabinet, put in a couple of those flyers. So we encourage you to leverage those in maybe putting them in your schools, maybe getting them to teachers, getting them to principals so that everybody is aware this is happening and they can get the information to parents and to children. But on the next slide, there's a couple other opportunities that I wanted to flag. We do have, let's see, so there is a Kentucky website for all information, which we encourage you all to check out, to learn if you're interested, to steal some of the communications resources from that page. There's a bunch of information there that can answer some questions. And also, as I mentioned before, we've got connectors and insurance agents available online and by calling to help members. So that 855-4CONNECT is a direct line to help answer any questions that members or parents might have. All right, so then moving on, I just wanted to show you briefly what the medicaidunwinding.ky.gov site has. You know, that I flagged this in the slide before, but this is a one-stop shop for a lot of information. It's got tools, it's got, you know, actions to take, it's got information about upcoming events. We host a monthly stakeholder call every single month, the third Thursday of the month, excuse me, where we invite all stakeholders to come and hear updates about how these are all going and you know, learn what they can do or what's going on from the state side too. So you can register for that event. It's actually this Thursday if you would like to, and I think Beth is able to put the link for that registration in the chat just briefly. But this is just encourage you again to go to this website, Medicaid.unwinding, or no, it's just medicaidunwinding.ky.gov. I will put that into the chat so that we've got this all ready to go. Medicaid Unwinding. So encourage you to check that out if you have the time and interest. And then lastly, to stay informed, would recommend we are on social media. Beth is a wizard at making sure we're updating. That's where you can go for the most up-to-date information and notices. And then that stakeholder meeting on the third Thursday of every month at 11 a.m. So encourage you to register that. You can do that through the medicaidunwinding.ky.gov site. But I also just please let us know if you have any needs, if you're seeing anything on the ground from parents, teachers, school staff in any way. We're open to any suggestions for communications and happy to provide more information wherever is necessary. This is a big lift that we are, you know, every state's handling, and so we appreciate any additional support from our partners in the community that we can get. So appreciate you guys letting me kind of spiel off about that. It's complicated. It's a lot of, you know, nuances here, but we're really focusing on trying to make sure that no one is terminated unnecessarily and that children remain covered. Are there any questions from the group? I don't know if there were questions submitted.
Yeah,
from
so
the-
I'm looking
Okay.
in the doc and I don't see any questions about this. We'll be sure. I know that we've had multiple conversations with you guys about this, and I know you've talked with Robin's office as well. So we'll be sure to continue to share this information via our Monday message and other communications that we have with our superintendents. And then also they'll receive a copy of this PowerPoint as well, which they're able to get in touch with you that way.
Wonderful.
All right, thank you so much for being great partners with us and sharing this important information. I think we are at the point where we are at the question and answer session. Dr. Glass, are you still there?
I am, Tony. Do we have any questions that have come in the question portal?
Nothing that, just some questions on some links, but nothing that is open at the moment. So I think that
Okay.
we've provided a lot of information, and hopefully everybody is good with all of the information. I know it was a lot today.
We have had an epic superintendent webcast here. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate you hanging with us. A lot of content to get through today, but it's the beginning of the year. We had a lot to cover, a lot of new information, a lot of good things, really exciting and good things happening. Next superintendent webcast will be on September 12th, so mark your calendars for that. We'll try to trim it up a little bit, but we had a lot to get through just getting the school year started. Thanks everybody, and we will see you next time.